We're here with Chris and Rich. You guys have both been on the podcast before. Now you're on together.
We're on together.
Yeah.
We do a lot together.
We do a lot together.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are right across the street from each other in Hanover. And you're doing this event that you're both participating in. You guys put that together. And you have something New Year's Eve with that?
We do.
We do, yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about
Well, we're going to switch it up this week. Rich is going to do oysters.
Potato leek soup. So we were doing a pop-up over the holiday weekends.
Yeah.
And for anybody that doesn't know. And we did...
Outside.
What's that?
It's outside.
It was outside the restaurant. We set up a pop-up tent right in front of the front door.
Yeah.
Heaters from Fish Fryer.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Here's some fish fryer for the wine. The first weekend we had sweet praxis there. The second weekend we had a few vendors from Wildflowers there.
That's cool.
Brash Design, Tree Forts and Fireflies.
Half-baked potter.
Half-baked Potter. What was the other?
Favorite things?
Favorite things gifts, yeah. So that was nice that we had, the ladies were there selling their crafts and stuff as gifts for Christmas.
And it's set up right outside Eden, right? Like in that area.
Right outside, yeah. So we're at 118 Genesee, and then the next door over on our building is 120, and they were set up in front of that door.
Cool.
Put some tents up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of it. I mean, it looked great. You know, it's an awesome way for people to get out there and do something. And
It's safe.
yeah, right. In this world of COVID.
We had all the social distance markers on the ground.
Yeah.
They've since been torn up by the plow, so we're going to have to figure something out.
I have 4 more.
Okay, good. Yeah, so we're doing the pop-up events outside the restaurant. The last couple of weekends was shepherd's pie, butternut squash soup. The Evergreen did the food for the last couple.
Yeah.
And then we did the drinks and the cocktails. So we made like hot chocolate mix was our hot chocolate bomb mix. We had like spiked coffee, spiked hot cocoa, cocktails.
That's awesome.
Beers to go.
Do you have to get any special permit for that?
Right now in New York, you can do food to go, or you can do alcohol to go as long as you're doing food to go too. And it's got to be in a container.
Okay. Do you have to do
sealed
anything?
container.
Yeah, right. That people can just open up.
Yeah, but I mean, if
Whatever they do after the sale is up to them.
Yeah. A sealed container in Tennessee is like the top of the paper on the straw is still on.
Right.
So, it's different everywhere, but
man.
It's
People have to buy food, so that's all the law is right now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to work within what we're given.
Yeah, for sure. How has that been managing what you've been given?
challenging.
Yeah.
I would say we pivoted a lot of times. You guys have revamped your hours and your schedule a few times.
And our menu is smaller and always evolving.
Yeah.
Trying to take the time to try out dishes for the reopen more than anything else,
I mean, you guys have no idea when that's going to be, right? Nobody does.
I suspect March.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm thinking end of February, early March.
I think people will be, we might actually invest in some heaters for then. I think people will be more willing to go outside. You'll get some nice days. And my feeling is by then it will at least get the 50% occupancy back.
Yeah.
Which is doable. It's not great, but it's doable.
Yeah. I want to get back to the pop-up thing, but yeah, the I have no idea. I mean, I've heard some things about like third week in January. That's nothing from any, like nobody was in a meeting. That's just people speculating that they think it's going to be third week in January, but who the hell knows?
I think that's false optimism.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on a couple. I was lucky enough to get have people send me the Zoom invite for. There was one with Catco and a bunch of restaurant owners.
I was at the Gerhardt's buying something.
Oh, yeah.
I ran into you on the
That's right.
phone call. Yep.
Yeah. And then like that, maybe the next week there was one that was Ryan McMahon and Ben Walsh with like 18 owners from downtown on that call. I think Chris Biley may have set that one up. I don't know for sure. But they all said the same thing. Like all the restaurant owners were saying, let us open that are in orange zone. And all three, Catco, McMahon, and Walsh all said, we can't do anything about it. But we're here to listen. That's pretty much all that happened.
Their hands are tied too. So.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like it's that safe to have restaurants open right now either.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you're sitting in a room with your mask off, and people don't go from the same house. They meet people from other households to sit at a table and take their mask off. So
yeah, I do.
Whether the stats show it or not, I still think it's.
Yeah. I One of our friends, my wife's friends, she had gone to dinner with one of her other friends, and last week, in a restaurant in the area that's in like no zone. So they went in and had dinner, and I mean during this whole time they've had no potential exposures or anything like that. But then it turned out that my wife's friend, like a day later, got tested positive for COVID. So I get that, yeah, for sure. I've been my kind of view on everything. I mean, with not really being in any an owner or chef's shoes, has been it sucks, but there's a way to do it. Like my theory has been people haven't been going out to eat even for takeout or delivery as much lately over the past like 2 months because they're afraid because numbers keep rising and because they don't have as much money as they did. In early days of quarantine. And the third reason is because there's so much more that's open. Like there's so many other ways for people to go out and spend their money right now.
I also think we're not giving people the experience we used to sell a year ago, which is a social, laid back environment. Going out, the food and the drinks one thing, but all the it's very regimented.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's hard because we're both in the business of selling an experience.
Right.
It's a social experience.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you take the social aspect of that away?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Eden is not the same if you can't sit there. If you can't leave having dinner from Eden and smell like a fire or smoke, which is like one of my favorite things about going to dinner at Eden, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean,
and if you can't go to Evergreen and sit there and look at the huge beer menu and walk up to the bar and get something different each time, what's the point? Or the brunches, the bingo brunch or whatever.
Yeah, I remember those days. Crammed in there.
Yeah. So I've my thoughts on that, and then I look at the new places that popped up. Tangy Tomato, San Miguel moves out to Beeville. They start crushing.
They're awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
San Miguel, I've liked them.
Yeah.
I used to live right down the street from them.
Okay. I haven't been there in a while.
Really good.
Yeah.
Where'd they move to?
Beeville. And
Beeville?
the old Sammy Malone's maybe out there. Yeah, I think so. It's it's on the water.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like the downstairs, that spot that's like down below, like there's a restaurant above them, and then they're down right on the water. But they had like a 3-hour wait for pickup and dine-in, like their first week open.
Wow.
Yeah. Winnie's Soul Food opens up on SU Hill, and they've got a line around the block for the first week. So people are going out there to get the new stuff. My view on things, my thought has been, like I said, people are afraid, not as much money, other ways to spend money during COVID, like right now during COVID. And that's why they haven't been supporting like local as much, because I talked to a lot of owners that are struggling like absolutely, and you guys already know this, crazy, worst time for business in their history.
Yeah, but, I'll say, our numbers are atrocious right now, but they've been creeping up over the last 3 weeks. That's awesome. Which is, I don't know if it's from other places closing or just, I'm not going to act like I know anything right now.
Right. My views changed once I listened to the podcast with Rogan and those two restaurant owners from LA. Because on that podcast, they were talking about, California is different. They've shut everything down. Like, there's no outdoor dining allowed in California right now, or at least in Los Angeles. And they were talking about, like, one guy had just spent $60,000 to renovate his outdoor. Basically, they were saying they built their restaurant outside. And he finished it on a Friday, and then that next Saturday they shut down outdoor dining.
I just said, I don't know, Rare Form Brewery. I saw their social media. They just bought that huge tent.
Yeah.
And then the windstorm came and it's gone.
Jesus. Those things are expensive.
That's this year. I feel like, we've done things. We bought like dividers and everything to maximize capacity. And then we opted to shut down like a week before we were told to, because the way things were going. But it's like we've spent so much money on scrambling to come up with ways to, and it's like, what's the, you're not getting your investment out of it.
Yeah. We had, we were selling dividers at work, and like the square ones for the bars. And then the health department went into one of the customers that had just bought like 4 of them. And they were like, you still can't seat people. You still have to do 6 feet at the bar, even if you have the divider.
Really?
You have to, for the bar divider, it has to be like literally floor to like way above. And,
well, we didn't do that.
yeah, nobody, listen, I mean, the brasserie still has the, the little ones, set up. I mean,
the rules are vague too.
Yes, and they change so often.
Yes.
And there isn't really one person that's like, this is it. Here's the new rule. Go tell everybody.
I mean, I agree. The dividers probably don't do anything.
Yeah.
But,
right.
So,
I mean, can you both give me a brief, in your own words, what the past 6 months has been like?
You want me to start?
You can start.
Come on, Rich.
Well, it's been challenging. It's our first year in business, so we didn't even make it a whole year before we got shut down. So we pivoted and we started doing the groceries at home, and that was great for 2.5, 3 months. It's kind of weaned off, and now we have a core group of customers that buy every single week, and we really value them. And I think that they really enjoy, getting local products at home. Not only do they not have to go to the farmers market or the central or the regional market to get their produce, but which is, I am weary about going there. I'd rather just have the farmers come to us. But they also have the convenience of just shopping at home, which is, I think, pretty great for them.
Yeah.
So that did pretty well. It's kind of weaned off it's sustaining itself, but it's, not keeping anything afloat right now. It kind of just pays Mark's salary at this point.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think it weaned off so much?
Yeah.
I think probably what happened was in the summer, people wanted to get out.
Yeah.
And so they started actually going to the regional market. A couple of times that I went down there, it was pretty packed.
Yeah.
So I would just, I know all the vendors, so I would just like park my car behind them and then be like, hey, I'm here for the squash. Just like get it and leave. But there were a lot of people there, and I think people just wanted to get out and do something.
Yeah.
And then, so I think that people started buying locally that way, and then we've been ramping up a little bit. Like we had a really good week last week, I think, because of the holidays.
That's cool.
People were buying like local meats and stuff just to cook for their families.
Yeah.
Which is good. Hopefully, it'll ramp back up this winter.
How are the hot cocoa bombs?
We were selling more than we could make. We're always struggling to get those out.
Yeah.
So I have 2 guys that work for me now. Mark does the market, and then Derek is my kind of sous chef at this point. He's making the hot chocolate bombs, and we neither one of us are pastry chefs. So tempering chocolate, I'm actually going to write a blog post about it at some point, probably in the new year.
Yeah.
Because we screwed it up so many ways that I kind of feel like now we're experts. So that's kind of the way,
Yeah.
the way you become an expert is just to mess it up a lot of times.
They look great.
Yeah, they came out great. When they come out great.
They're very consistent now.
Yeah.
Did you buy those molds on purpose, or were they the only ones you could find?
They were the only ones that could. It's like everything else with COVID. Like, oh, you want this size, this? Yeah, that doesn't exist.
I mean, I think that's like a blessing in disguise because they were the most unique ones.
Yeah, they looked
around.
really cool.
They look great.
I picked it up and I was like, oh, we can make these work, until we tried like the first 17 batches and they all broke coming out of the mold.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But so we started working with Tyler from Nostalgia Chocolates.
Yeah.
And he's been super helpful.
Tyler was on the podcast back in March, or I think March. When St. Patrick's Day parade. Yeah, that's March.
Yeah.
He was on
Right before the shutdown.
He was
right
on
at the shutdown.
We recorded his episode the day the parade was supposed to happen, when I think that was the first time that restaurants went to like 50% capacity. And on the podcast, we're sitting there talking, and we're like, listen, this sucks, but in 2 weeks, it's all going to be over. We'll be back to normal. And I edited his episode like a month after that, and listening back to it, I was like, Jesus. And then now 8 months later, and we're still shut down.
Still shut down.
That COVID still exists. Yeah, I love the cocoa bombs. I really thought that was like one of the best moves, doing them that way.
Well, I had seen that back in like July on Instagram, and I was like,
Oh, really?
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, with the restaurant being closed, we had time to focus on different things. So I was like, let's try it out. And then we started kind of the process of creating them, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at all the other pastry chefs and everything in Syracuse. It's like everybody's got them now.
Yeah.
So it was a hit this winter, which is great.
Yeah, it's insane how much those things blew up.
Yeah.
And it's great because it's like an awesome source of revenue for a lot of these places that were making good money from them. We bought a few. We bought a few from people that like just do it on Instagram, and they were really good. Yeah. Got a couple of the. I definitely feel like my blood sugar shot through the roof with each one that I had, but yeah, they were good. It's cool to see like something creative like that pops out during COVID.
And we have like our company motto is if there's a harder way to do it, we're going to find it, right? Yeah, so we sourced local chocolate that was like, when Tyler sells it to us, it's out of temper, so we have to go get cocoa butter, make sure that is in temper, and then create these class 5 crystals that like, make the chocolate the way it's supposed to be, and then we like go and toast we get dry non-fat milk powder and like toast it in a pan, which is like the hardest way to do it. Make the marshmallows from scratch. Like we're doing the whole thing, as pretty much as hard as you can. But I think at the end result's pretty good. The hot chocolate comes out pretty good.
Yeah. So, what's the mindset been? Has it been challenging to kind of like stay sane during all of this?
Yeah, it's just, I was talking to Jen during the first week of that, from Sweet Praxis, during the first week of the pop-ups. And she's like, I'm out of ideas. And I was like, me too.
I think we're all out of ideas.
That was the first thing we said to each other after she set her tent up. She's like, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm out of ideas. I was like, neither do I.
Yeah.
We've been kicking around some ideas that I'm not going to say anything about them yet because I'm not sure they're going to come to fruition.
They will, but we need to let's not talk about them until we decide that we're going to pull it off.
But it's fun. Like it's great that we get to work with each other, and we're all good friends.
Yeah.
And we were in the original COVID circle together, like the first month of it.
Yeah.
Go over and just roll pasta, eat in middle of the day.
Yeah, we've been hanging out the whole time.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like
Yeah.
I have like 6 people in my COVID circle because it's been one of them. I don't really see other people all that often.
Yeah.
So.
I was just talking to somebody, a brewery owner, and he was like, don't hang around people that are by themselves during COVID. He's like, be really careful about who you hang out with. He's like, and you'll notice the ones that don't have like an immediate circle that they, hang out with all the time or talk to, the ones that are just kind of off doing their own thing by themselves. He's like, especially during COVID, they'll bring you down fast.
Yeah.
He's like, depression is really easy right now. And if you don't have like at least a few people that you just are with all the time, it can get pretty
if I didn't have my dog, because it's just me at home,
Yeah. It'd be rough.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get those like midnight, like he'll call me up and be like, what the hell is going on? We do it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's good to have somebody to vent to. No, I get it. It's good to have somebody to vent to.
Yeah. How's it been? How's the mindset been for you?
It's been a whirlwind. One of the biggest struggles I think is going from like 22 employees to 1. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at right now. There was that when we were open, we was able to bring like half of them back for a couple months, and then there's that, and then it's just we were in full speed in March. We had such a crazy year plan, and that the events that got canceled seemed like they were far away at this point. But I don't know. We've been focusing on this time around. We're focusing more on like making a better takeout product, like whether it's using more containers, like doing little things like keeping like lettuce and tomato off the burgers when it goes home, so people can enjoy that experience more. I don't know. Feels like spinning your wheels, but it's what you got to do.
Yeah. Really, no food is really going to transport well for takeout.
Our nachos do now because we put them. We build them at home.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Pizza does.
Pizza does, yeah.
Some stuff, I guess it does. We ordered.
I think it stops at pizza.
Yeah. I mean, David Hoyne was saying that last week. He was like, we sell fish and chips more than anything else. And
that's the worst.
Yeah. He's like, if you don't eat that right away, he's like, so we have to, it's like we wait until the last second to cook it.
Oh, it kills so people order food, and they'll time it, and so you have it done when they're ready to pick it up. We try to do it right at the time.
Yeah.
And they'll let it sit there for 45 minutes. It's like, you don't want this anymore.
We ordered from Beer Belly on Christmas Day for their like special package they did. We had gone up to Boonville to my wife's family, and then we came back like Christmas Day at noon, and Christmas Eve we were like, what are we doing for like Christmas dinner? We just didn't plan anything, so we didn't have any. We had like
no Chinese food.
No, we had the only thing we had at the house were veggie tots and those boomerang pies. Have you ever had those?
No.
It's like an Australian thing, but it's basically like a frozen chicken pot pie, except it's like Southwest chicken, and it's disgusting. But it's really good. Anyways, that's like our like emergency. We always have a couple of them in the freezer. So, and then somebody posted on Facebook that they had just ordered from Beer Belly, and they were open Christmas Eve and still taking orders. So, anyways, they had a whole package. It was like $35 for dinner and then a 4-pack of beer. And but they came in like half pans. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, we ordered for like a 3:45 pickup. And I was like, all right, we're going to get there right at 3:45 and rush home to make sure it's hot. Come to find out, everything was pre-cooked like the day before, but it came with like perfect reheating instructions. So that worked out. I'm a little leery of that kind of stuff, but it was actually pretty good. But yes, ordering takeout, you have to time it right.
Yeah.
Or eat it right there on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Which I'm not opposed to doing.
No, and that was kind of the idea behind the pop-up was like,
yeah,
here's your shepherd's pie. It's hot.
Right.
Like, you can eat it, go see the tree.
Yeah.
Get a cup of hot chocolate.
Yeah.
We'll put some alcohol in it if you want it. And,
Enjoy
your holiday. It's been a hard year. Enjoy your holiday.
Yeah.
I think people were pretty responsive and happy about it. Like,
yeah, I think that
was. Is there a good turnout?
Yeah. We had a couple great days. We had one day we learned we shouldn't be out there when it's 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only day we struggled was when it was a little cold, and that's like a double kick in the pants because it's like, A, it's 5 degrees outside, and B, there's nobody coming, so we're like, this is a waste of time, and we're freezing cold,
and we have to break all of this down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
But I think overall the people who came, and we had a lot of repeat people. I know we had some tenants from the State Tower who came. Like, I want to say like 4 out of the 6
They
days.
were really digging that shepherd's pie, man. They were,
That's cool.
They were back over
awesome.
and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed a lot of your customers during this time are like downtown residents? I mean, I know you're not asking everybody when they come in where they live, but I just feel like downtown, a lot of people, like in normal times, people drove from all over Syracuse to go downtown.
Yeah, I feel like maybe my business is a little bit more indicative of that because I would have regulars who might come in 2 or 3 times a week. Before I'll see some of them. A lot of my good regulars, like I'll talk to them. They try to they don't go out that much. Mm-hmm. So I know like Jeremy DeChario comes in like once a month, or Natalie, and they rotate between a few spots, but they do it like once a week or something like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people aren't working downtown.
Yeah.
I think that was a lot of our business was a post-work dinner or meetup. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's people downtown, but I feel like a lot of those people downtown work elsewhere too. And if they're going to grab something, they're going to grab it on the way.
Yeah. Rachel, who used to work at Cafe Kubal, and we used to go to Evergreen quite a bit, and after for beers and shit. And anyway, she moved to Buffalo over the summer, and they were just back in town and for Christmas, and she was like, let's get together and get a beer. Where can we go? I was like, it was like an honest struggle to find to think of a place that we could go to get a beer.
It seems like such a foreign. It's like I can't remember. I mean, I've had beers with people, but
yeah,
to go to an actual place and sit
yeah, I know,
seems so far away.
Yeah.
We went to Toss and Fire for dinner, maybe 3 weeks ago, and that was pretty strange to go and sit down and have a meal. It was definitely strange for sure. I feel like we kind of I got over that when things were open back up, and then now it's like getting used to it all over again.
I know I went for my first meal when we opened up. I ate over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't think there was many other ones.
I would say my last meal before we all shut down was that Ethiopian place. I'm forgetting the name of it now.
There's Habiba's.
Not Habiba's, the other one.
The other one that was like the best restaurant, and
it got like a CNN award. That was strange because we were the only people in there.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of wild.
How does that stuff work? I mean, how did Ethiopian restaurant in Syracuse get CNN's like?
I don't know.
Like I don't know. I mean,
Somebody's cousin's sister.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
That's what I suspect.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of that stuff is like pay to play though. Like I used to work at a relay in Chateau, and like you have to pay to be in that association. So if anybody doesn't know, it's like the 650 best restaurants and inns in the world.
Yeah.
And you have to pay to be in the association. You have to hit certain marks, like they come and inspect your thing. But then like you get written up in Condé Nast Traveler because it's all like they basically pay for that.
Gotcha.
You know?
Okay.
It puts you on their radar, and then they kind of cycle through the.
I'm starting to learn the benefit of getting press this year. For Eat Local, we had Syracuse.com did an article for us, which wasn't even supposed to be about the card. It was supposed to be about the gift card package that we were doing. And Don, I think Don coming on and doing more of the food this year during COVID has been kind of great because he's accessible. So I know a lot of like he's in some of the text groups of like 30 restaurant owners, and is getting like insight into different stuff, which I feel like the Post Standard just hasn't had in the past with some of the other food writers, which is kind of a good thing. I guess that you don't want your journalist to really be too familiar with who they're writing about. But it's been great because Don's I feel like been doing a great job this year with it. But anyway, so he did the article for us, and then News Channel 9 did an interview about the card, and both of those, I mean, I think we raised $1,000 for the United Way just from those two things in like a week. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been amazing what press has done for us. I mean, when we started the Farmer's Box thing, I think we did 20 the first week, and then we had an article in Syracuse.com, and then we did 150 the second week, and then I think Channel 9 picked us up.
Yeah. He looked stressed that week. I remember it.
Yeah, Channel 9 picked us up, and we did
it went
from
I don't know if this is going to work to how is this going to work?
Yeah, how are we going to get all this food together?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it was great for a few weeks after that.
Yeah. Then it changed.
Then it changed, but this whole process has been from the very onset. Like we were the week before restaurants got shut down here. We were in New York City at a wine tasting. There was this big gala wine event. We were there to see a few New York State winemakers, and then we just happened to be a couple blocks from the James Beard House. So I swung in to say hello, and the same program director was there from the last couple times I'd done dinners there, and we were talking about setting up a James Beard dinner in the fall. So we were our first year in business, we were going to go down there and get on the New York City radar, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then everything gets shut down. And then we do the box thing, and then that kind of weans off, and then we reopen the restaurant, and we were actually doing really good with the restaurant too before we got shut down again. So
yeah,
you really couldn't get a table in there. I mean, we were at 50% capacity.
Yeah.
We're a small restaurant, but it was pretty tough to get a table unless you came in on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
At 5:00.
Yeah.
It's when it was available. So
I was just picturing myself as you were talking, sitting at the bar again and having dinner and a couple of drinks.
Yeah. I was telling my friend, just talked to him yesterday, Jordan, and he just recently bought the card. My son was coming on the podcast. He's like, but I'm like, I don't. He's like, I won't use the card because I feel bad for restaurants. In my opinion, use the card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know I've seen it in people's wallets. It's even before I've seen it in people's wallets and they don't use it.
Yeah. My best friend Rachel, I just mentioned. Last year we went to last spring we went to, or maybe the year before that, we went to lunch at Oh My Darling, and it was me and Rachel and another coworker, and I paid for all three of us, but I used my card. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know that they were on the Eat Local card." I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I was just here last night for dinner with my mom. I had no idea." I think people buy the card, and after the first like month or two, they like remember and they use it all the time, and then after that, they just completely forget they have it, and they forget who's on it. And I've gotten that from like what you just said, from some restaurant owners that we reach out to join the card, like a couple of them, and it could just be, there's so many different personalities, right, in restaurant owner world. A couple of them have been like, "How dare you ask us to join this and offer a discount right now?" And then others are like, who we've been trying to get for years, or
but they'll go on Grubhub and give them 30%.
Yeah. That is, when we looked into that at the beginning of this whole shutdown, because we never did take out food.
Yeah.
Although Grubhub has put us on their website, and
Me
you
too.
a couple of times, and we both freaked out at them because it's like,
it's a pain in the ass
I
to get
emailed
all of
them
that.
and never contacted me again, and I got home and they texted me.
well, we had
And then I have the text thread. It's pretty.
Yeah.
I was not nice.
we had somebody show up. We had a Grubhub driver show up at our restaurant back in February, and I had run home for something, and I got a call from the restaurant like, "Hey, Grubhub is here. Are we on Grubhub?" And I was like, "No." So I called them up, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we offered this as a free service to you." And I said, "I don't want your free service." And they said, "Well, you have to email us that we need to stop doing." And I was like, "That's like me putting your house on Airbnb and telling you need to email me so I stop renting it for you."
And it's not just the email that gets you off. You then have to go through a process once you email them.
Yeah.
We about a year and a half ago, we were in the process. It just wasn't worth it, but we were going to sue DoorDash because they were doing that to us. They show up sneaky, come in, and like I remember I called up and tested it and just told them that our Lamburger was $95. They hung up with me and they called back, but it's obscene.
Yeah. That was like the last act that I had to deal with at Cafe Kubal before I went to Gerhar's. Was we had one cafe on, I think it was DoorDash. I forget which one it was. It was Grubhub or DoorDash. But then they just added all of the cafes on there without telling us. And
it's like an outdated menu.
Right.
Like when ours was like our menu from when we opened.
Yeah.
And
I think they did it just for like their investors. It was like, look, we just added, thousands of restaurants across the country. We're doing so well. But
I think lawsuits are built into their business model. They're like the garbage company or the waste oil company.
Right.
All their profit comes from,
I've been trying to start a local version or get people to start a local version of it. I started looking into it back in like March, like how it would work.
We've
what it would
schemed on that a
cost.
few times.
Yeah, in Burlington in the 90s, we had one. It was called 5-Star Delivery, and it was same thing.
Yeah.
You would call in the 5-star, they would call the restaurant, place the order, and then they would come in like 45 minutes.
So my dad started one in 2007, 2008 here in Syracuse. It was called Takeout Express, and it was that. You called one number, and that was their office, and you placed an order from the restaurants that they worked with. Ambrosia was like one of their big restaurants. So
that's where the fish fryer was?
Ambrosia is where Margaritas is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Back in the Steve Samuels,
That was
I
the
think,
door where fish fryer is.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Steve Samuels, I think, was one of the chefs at Ambrosia back in the day. Back in the day, it was like they had the freshest, like their sushi, their fish would come in swimming was like the thing every day. Okay. Anyways, so that's what you would do. You call one number, they would call the restaurant, place the order, dispatch a driver, and then they would work out like they would get a discount off the menu price from the restaurant, and then they would also charge a delivery fee.
Yeah, they had that in Rochester in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Slamming menus or something like that. Okay. Same idea.
There's a place in Keuka that does it. It's called Keuka To Go. They have an app. I don't know how successful it is, but they have an app that they do, and a couple of guys started it there.
I have issues with, though, someone else delivering your food.
Yeah.
It's like if you give it to the customer, they go home and they can do whatever. But if you have someone you don't know,
right?
It's not just them sticking their fingers in it or anything like that. It's like, are they going to like get gas and
I feel like it's different though with a local company, like a place like that 5-star place.
It's like if the people are vetted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same drivers. I mean, there is a guy that works at Digital Hive who's like an account manager or something who decided in, I think, April or May to drive for Grubhub for like a month to see like what the experience would be like and he was making like $900 a week doing it. And he was doing it after he would do it for like 4 or 5 hours after he worked his normal job. Yeah. And he was making good money. He was saying a lot of it is like fast food. A lot, sure. For the orders that he picks up would be like McDonald's and Wendy's and all that shit.
And I mean, that's my theory is that, Grubhub and McDonald's created coronavirus.
Really?
Yeah.
Sure it wasn't Jeff Bezos?
Yeah.
He's making out real well on this.
Well, maybe the three of them.
Is that your real theory?
Yeah.
Please tell me what that. Explain.
Well, it's like you can't count Uber because they lost all their ride share, so
right, yeah,
it's their way of taking out Uber Eats.
Is it that they created coronavirus or that they spread it?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. They delivered the bat
in Wuhan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
Well, back to our pop-up for this week.
Oh, yeah, pop-up. Yeah.
The thing we started on.
I know, yeah. Yeah, 40 minutes ago, we started talking about the pop-up.
It's all right.
I mean, I know you're doing, so it's New Year's Eve, right? Yes. What time does it start?
5? We're doing 5, right?
5? We didn't even talk about that. I thought we were doing
5
3.
I put 5 to 9:30 up on the...
Perfect.
Yeah.
People are excited about New Year's Eve shit from restaurants. I've gotten like 40 DMs this week.
Me too, and it's like I felt kind of bad that we're not doing something like we did date night package before. I just didn't want to go through that with doing the pop-up as well.
We're gonna do that in the new year. I think we're gonna.
That's cool.
We're gonna take they have a bunch of candles left over. We're gonna steal them.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. We share everything.
Yeah,
I'm being serious. We do.
Well, we ordered. We had the catering from Eden, and you were there for that. Which great job, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah.
I tried it like the scraps
right
after it went out the door. Derek was like, "Here, try some meat." Actually, Mark was.
Yeah. The meat was good. I would murder somebody for that tortellini. I would legitimately murder someone if it meant that I could get that tortellini again.
Well, you can buy it.
I could buy it.
Yeah, you don't have to murder.
I'm just saying that if I had to, if it came down to it, and that was the only thing that I could do to get it.
I think that was 2 a.m. tortellini too.
That was 2 a.m. Yeah, we were there until 2 o'clock in the morning.
That shit was amazing.
That's what your brand should be.
Yeah, 2 a.m. Can't sleep. Insomnia tortellini. Yeah.
That'll be the next restaurant.
Throughout COVID, sleep has been.
So New Year's Eve starting at 5 p.m.
Yeah. Starting at 5 p.m. New Year's Eve. So we do have. I don't know when you're going to put this up, but you can order.
I'm probably going to have it out tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be too late, but you can order by 2 o'clock today.
Okay.
For dinners.
For dinner for prepackaged to go dinners from Eden. So you get like soup, and we're going to do this again for Valentine's Day too. So maybe people will watch and remember it. But you get like a cup of soup and an entree and a dessert. Cool. All for there's set prices for each thing.
And then day of, we're doing. He's going to be shucking oysters out front.
Yeah, so we got some great oysters coming from Maine. I asked for pemmiquids. I don't think we got pemmiquids, but we got some from a bay right around Pemmiquid Island. Okay, so that's exciting. We're going to do potato leek soup also, hot food outside.
Yeah, I mean, people can walk up on New Year's Eve starting at 5 p.m., 5 to 9.
You get a heady topper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to have Petty Topper. Evergreen's doing cocktails. So last time we did cocktails and the Evergreen did food. This time we're going to do food and the Evergreen's going to do cocktails.
Okay. All right,
and we're also scheming up something else for a pop-up on a certain day of the week that I think people will be into.
Might be really into.
Yeah, the B word.
Yeah.
That's our clue.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else doing the pop-up with you, a Sweet Praxis, or anybody doing something this for New Year's Eve, or just you two?
Everybody else. We're the only ones that are
dumb enough to do it.
Sorry, it's too cold for everybody else. Forgot about the microphone. We're the only ones that are dumb enough to stand out there. Yeah.
Poor Mark. I make fun of him. Mark, if you're listening to this, which I don't know if you are.
Fuck you, Mark.
But I use Mark as the example with every guest for the last 3
you did
years.
use that last time. Yeah.
And I don't just leave it as hey, my friend Mark. I always say, do you know Mark Palu from Farm to Fork 101?
He's a great guy, though.
He is.
I love Mark.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he stopped talking during the entire podcast because I work pretty closely with him, and he just all day long.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel
I love him to death.
Yes,
Like, sometimes I'm like, Mark, I wasn't listening to you.
Yeah. Mark is one of my favorite people just for his sense of humor, which I feel like it takes a while to get to know Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you do, he starts throwing in these like random little one-liners that are pretty fucking hilarious.
He's real quick-witted too.
Yeah.
Like we did a dinner on the top of what building was that?
That's
The common space one?
Otro. What is it called?
I don't know.
It was called Summer in the City. It was an event a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. And we're all up there, and I put out this beet salad for everybody to try. And this thunderstorm came through, and you could see there's a crack of lightning behind him. Yeah. He's like, "These beets are electric!" Like just right on the money. He's hilarious. He's really quick witted. It's a great guy to have around. So
I will always remember the Garbage Boys. What was it? Stinky.
The
Quarantine Boys.
Quarantine Boys. That's what it was.
We did a cooking video.
We did like 2 cooking videos at Eden.
I walked over that day.
Yeah,
I never
right.
watched them. Yeah.
And it was. What was it? It was
Greasy and Stinky or something like
that. Maybe Quarantine Boys need to make a revisit to the internet.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
We talked about.
Was that when the camera was overheated? No, that was.
No, that was a different. We did a cooking demonstration for a bunch of SU lawyers. I'm also going to plug this on your podcast. Yeah. We are doing corporate events along with Team Adventure. So they have a team building component to it. And then we will package everything up that you need to make dinner for 1 or 2 people in a box, kind of like we do our produce boxes. We package everything in a box for you to be able to make dinner at home, and I'll walk you through it.
Awesome.
And then I think you're going to actually film those.
Sweet.
We did a test run, but then things got. I was supposed to go to Dallas, and I didn't end up going.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you're supposed to go to Dallas?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
land
anyway,
of the free.
What's that?
Texas is the land of the free.
Texas is the land of the free. Yeah.
I used to live in Texas.
Did you?
Yeah. Lived in Killeen, Texas, Fort Hood, Texas.
You're from here, though, right?
So I grew up, born and raised in Kentucky till I was 13.
Okay.
Moved here. Moved to Ohio, moved back here, moved to Texas, moved to California, Texas for a week, and then back here.
Okay.
Just 1 week?
1 week. I moved back, and I moved back after living in San Diego for a month with I was a Manny for about 6 months. I worked for this family who was a foster care family. So they had 13 kids from the ages of 2 to
Mormons?
12. No. Definitely Christians. I worked for a church in Texas when I was out there part-time as their stage manager. And then part-time as this family's Manny. And so the family took a month-long trip out to California, and they bought a house while they're out there. So I lived out there with them and helped take care of the kids. And so then I moved back I went back to Texas, and I was there for like 3 days and hated it. And I called a buddy back, lived back here, and he was like, "Hey, Metro Mattress is hiring. If you want to, talk to the, vice president." And so I emailed the VP, and I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about moving back. If there's a job," he was like, "Yep, there sure is." And so I fit anything that would fit in my Chrysler Sebring at the time and drove back.
Nice.
And in a week, I think maybe it was a 2-week period of time, I had driven from Northern California, like an hour from the border, Redding, California, down the state to San Diego, stayed there for a night, drove that whole family back to Texas, to Central Texas, stayed there for a week, and then drove myself and my Chrysler from Texas up to New York.
Wow.
And that was a 2-week period.
That's a lot.
And I slept in my car on the trip from Redding down to San Diego and then from Texas to Syracuse. And I would love to do that right now. Back then I smoked still, so I smoked like Marlboro Lights.
Are we going to quit next week?
I hope so.
Yeah. we make this pact pretty regularly.
Do you?
Yeah. I'm quitting smoking.
Then I look across the street and I see Rich smoking, and I'm like, well, I'm going to the store.
I know if I don't hear from him the first day, he's probably smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
So,
That's hilarious. When I met my wife, we each had like our own hang up that the other person had. And for her, it was that I smoked cigarettes. And so I literally like quit cold turkey. And 2 days later, I went into the hospital with pneumonia.
Are you serious?
I was smoking at work one night, and I walked up like 2 steps and started coughing. And I went inside, and I was like, oh, God, I got to quit. I threw the pack of cigarettes in the trash. And literally 2 days later, I was like coughing up blood, and I was in the hospital with pneumonia. But it's been over 3 years since I've had a cigarette, and I would kill for one. I know that it would like make me very sick if I had a cigarette right now.
I'm unfortunately going to enjoy one post this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's the thing is like, you do, when you quit, like I quit for like 8 months or 6 or 8 months.
I've been like a year and a half, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Then you smoke that first one and you feel totally sick. But then you're right back on the train.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like I'm either a non-smoker. I can't smoke casually. I'm either a smoker.
I'm very envious of those people who can smoke like 3 cigarettes this weekend and then nothing more until like a month later or something.
Yeah.
No, that's not me. I'd have to go through. I was going through a pack a day, and it was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was really great. Driving across the country, just smoking cigarettes.
Well, when you're quitting, that was when I was successful in doing it. It was the driving that always, because it's like this habit. It's like start your car. It's warm enough. Roll the window down. Wait, I don't even care if it's warm enough. Roll the window down.
I have it lit before I get in the car, so it's
Turn on some music or a good podcast.
It also wakes you up when you're like driving. You're I'm one of those people who likes to drive as much as I can.
Yeah.
At one shot, I don't need to stop.
Back in the day when I was like 20, 21, 22, 23, I would smoke like once every couple months. And so what I would do is I would go buy a pack of cigarettes at like a gas station at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And at the time I lived in Westvale, and I would just drive Route 5 out to Auburn and chain smoke. I would get a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, and I would listen to like Damien Rice and just chain smoke out to Auburn. And I would have like 5 cigarettes by then, and I would feel sick, and I would throw the pack out the window and then drive back home. And I would do that like every 2 or 3 months.
Training.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Training. Getting ready for my career. All right. Well, this New Year's Eve, which is tomorrow, right?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, 5 p.m. If you're listening to this whenever I release it, it's December 31st. And, pop up outside of Eden.
Yep, 5 to 9:30.
Get booze.
Get some fresh shucked oysters. Some cocktails to go.
Support local.
What are you putting with the oysters? You're doing...
I think we're going to do lemon juice, horseradish, some kind of cocktail sauce. That's still a little bit up in the air. We might do a hot sauce, too.
How are you going to serve them?
Shucked on the half shell.
And a bed of salt.
On a little bed of salt so they stay like, you've seen them at the restaurant. We put a little bit of wet salt on the bottom so they stay upright.
Yeah.
And then whatever condiments you want.
Yeah. Can people sit there and like eat them and keep a distance?
They can stand.
And
actually, Hanover Square is full of seating.
Yeah.
There's basically.
Chess tables. Right. There's fountains that are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never seen any chess played at those tables.
I have.
I've seen it once or twice.
Yeah.
I've seen heroin cooked there more often. Nodding in Hanover.
Yeah. Yeah, Hanover Square.
Yeah.
We did a video with Kristen Andrzejewski, who's running for Common Council this year. And I was like doing videos for her. We met there on like a Saturday.
I didn't know she was working with you.
Yeah.
That was surprised when we dropped off the catering. It was surprising to me.
Yeah. She started, she was there before I was. So she's been there for over a year.
Okay.
Yeah. What is your role there?
Marketing manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mean to pry. I'm just curious.
No, it's cool. I don't care. Marketing manager. They actually reached out. Mark, who's going to be listening to this, my boss, one of them, listened to the podcast, and he was on a trip with D'Onofrio to a customer out in Ohio. And they were listening to the podcast, and I think, from what I understand, D'Onofrio was like, oh, I know Anthony. and Mark said, "Tell him to talk to us because we're always wanting to hire like new people, like good people." He said so. I was at Kubal at the time. Went in and interviewed twice, and had real long meetings with them. They just weren't doing anything for marketing at all. And so we're like the biggest competitor is Websterant,
Yeah. I've also been burned by Websterant.
Have you? Yeah, we've heard that. We hear that a lot. It's rough.
I just bought some kitchen equipment when we redid ours, and then we ended up going, Mike, obviously.
Yeah.
Mike's the man.
Yeah.
I actually got a refund for our charbroiler, which took a lot of harassing.
Yeah.
But
from Websterant.
From Websterant, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to be a local. It's tough to like really get the local support when you're dealing with like essentially the Amazon of like the restaurant equipment supply world. I mean, Websterant has so much cheaper and some stuff.
I don't.
But
that's debatable.
Yeah.
Plus, when you go like to plug Gerhardt's a little bit, when you actually go there,
yes.
Like it's not like Lowe's when you go and you ask someone like, "Where do I find this? What do I do?" and they give you some like bullshit.
Right.
If they don't know there, maybe it's fear from the higher ups but they'll get you to the person that knows.
Yeah.
And then you just get like a straight answer.
Right. Yeah. The great thing about Gerhardt's is that we have people like Shirk.
Yeah.
Mike Shirk, who's been at...
He's the man. I call his cell if I need something,
Yeah.
And he also can you guys switch locations, whatever, merged.
Right.
He can still find anything
Yeah.
And he just knows the number. It blows my mind. That's how do you
memorize numbers like
this
that?
This is a souffle lid.
Right. The thing I love about Gerhardt's is that there's so much experience inside that building that we literally have an employee who's worked in every area of food service at some point as like their career. I mean, we have Eamon Lee working there now, for God's sakes,
That was the whole thing when we catered that Christmas party for you guys.
Yeah.
It was like 1 o'clock. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. We're making tortellini, and we're talking about the dinner tomorrow, and somebody was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm just stressed." And they're like, "Well, why? Why are you stressed?" I was like, "Because this is for a bunch of chefs."
Right. Yeah.
Eamon Lee is going to be there.
Yeah.
Anthony D'Onofrio is going to be there. You're going to be there. I didn't know Kristen was working there. I was like, "This is Yeah. And Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg Rode, who's
Greg
been,
Rode,
I mean, he's basically started Rosalie's Cucina.
Yeah.
Just to pry too. So the catering that you guys got over there, it was
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they first told me that you guys were doing it, I was like, how the fuck is Eden going to do this for everybody? Like, Eden's an experience. You know?
So I was, I asked you a million questions about it. It looked great to me.
Right.
I was just curious how it was.
Oh, everybody loved it. Yeah, it was phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. From the steak to the tortellini to the vegetables, even the salad. It was like Jesus.
The lettuce.
Christ.
He was ripping the lettuce apart when I was talking to him in the morning.
Yeah,
that was some beautiful lettuce.
Yeah, and it was
it is
local, I'd imagine. Right?
Yeah, Agbotic. Farm Girl Greens. That's where you get it from.
Yeah, I mean it really was
like red leaf fib or something. Or?
Yeah, it's called.
It's great.
Butter lettuce.
Nobody's ever had a better like corporate catered meal before than we had that day for our Christmas party.
Yeah, I mean that's what we were trying.
On the lettuce too. Like I've worked for him in various capacities, and you're at Eden. The salad's not even listed on the menu. You're going to get it. It's just what do you want to call it? It's just a break, right, between the small plate and
like
the
intermezzo or
Yeah.
And the people will scoff at it and look at it like, oh, it's just lettuce.
Yeah.
With like some dressing on it, and then like. You see him eat it, and then it's like you turn around, it's gone.
Right.
And they want more.
Yeah.
And I got a message yesterday from somebody that's been like, so we have like a lot of very loyal customers. I feel like the people that shop with us, our customers, are very loyal, and they get it, and we're hoping to find more of those people out there. But I got a message the other day on Instagram like the dressing that you guys put on the salad, like, can you bottle that up? And then I got a message from Anthony at Gerhardt's the other day, and he's like, somebody wants to buy ravioli like by the gallon because they brought some of the extra home, and their family put it on everything.
Wow.
I was like, okay, well, that's probably
the chimichurri is what you should.
Yeah, that
chimichurri is like my retirement
plan. See, I am very fortunate to be close to him because every secret there is, He'll just tell you.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to know the secrets.
Clue it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
None of it's complicated.
Yeah, none of it is. Well, maybe if you look at it on paper. I mean, Eamon today, which, is at Gerhar's, doing nothing but
it's attention to detail.
Yeah.
That's what I want to like. Yeah. If I could sum up what you do the best way, it's every step, every action you take is deliberate.
It's the argument I had with Cody Dedishu. He believes that chefs are craftsmen. I believe they're artists. Like, I'm never going to be like, you could take me through every art class and how to fucking draw something. I'm never going to be able to fucking draw something. You're an artist. You know how to do this. It's not like anyone can just learn it. It's
a combination because you got to
you have to put the work in.
You have to figure out the craft part of it. There's a whole, there definitely is a craft to it.
Yeah.
But once you figure that out, and once you figure out the reasons that you do it, the deeper understanding, this is what I learned at Hen of the Wood.
That's what he always teaches me. This is the key right here.
The deeper part of that is like, if you figure out why you're doing these things in this order. Like I worked for a chef before I worked at Hen of the Wood, and she's a great chef. But I asked her why she did something, and she's like, that's the way they do it in Burgundy. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't explain why we're doing this. But then, I worked for Eric at Hen of the Wood, and I started to figure out why we were brining stuff, why we were curing stuff, why we were taking the steps that we're taking, like why we cut all of the garlic with a knife instead of just throwing it in the Cuisinart.
Yeah.
And there's reasoning behind it. And once you figure out all the whys, then you can kind of put it all together and build on that.
Yeah.
To build your crafting skills.
Right.
And then once you have that kind of in place, then you can go for like the artistry. But I'm not a big fan of people that like Dominique Kren is a good example, right? I respect what she does immensely. I'm not that kind of person. Like I'm not going to write a poem to explain my menu.
Right.
I'm not that artsy. Like at the end of the day, we're feeding people.
For sure.
And that's just the way that I come at it. Like, different chefs are different, you know? But I think that there's definitely a craft part of it. Mm-hmm. And then the artistry comes in with like, okay, these two things kind of go together. How do we make a match so that they jive and that one doesn't overpower the other?
Yeah.
Like, I know he always jokes and says like, if they can make it harder, they will.
Yeah.
But like I've been fortunate enough to observe a lot of the process, and not to give away anything with a steak or whatever, but whatever, he does the curing ahead of time. But the way that steak is treated there, it's whether Rich is doing it or staff members doing it, it's very specific. It's like rested, cooked. It's like it's so deliberate.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's cured. It's slow roasted. Yeah. It's like,
it's just so deliberate, and it's like you realize like it's like if you're at a steak, you can't just grab you're not going to serve a steak that you just have sitting in the cooler, because you can't go through you're out of.
Got to go through a process together.
Like that's your brand. You're not going to so it's like you're out of it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even get steak there. I'm obsessed with this chicken. Nobody does chicken like that.
Chicken.
Yeah, but also he tried it, didn't really pick off. But the take home cook yourself meal with the instructions, I bought one of those beginning of COVID.
Both got it. Mike was like astounded by the.
I was. It was. I mean, you missed. There was some stuff on the ingredients like that you didn't say we needed, whatever. But whatever, that's detail stuff. Yeah. But the thing is, I was like, oh my god, this is actually whatever you do. He debones it and just leaves the leg bone in.
Yeah.
All like
I just leave the arm the airline breast.
But it was like simple. It's like you have a hot pan, you sear that skin, and you flip it, then you put the kale on it.
You don't flip it.
Or you don't flip it.
Yeah.
See, I already forgot.
Don't flip your chicken.
Don't flip it. But then you put it in the oven. And it's like you pull it out, and I'm like, well, I'm almost made an Eden meal.
When you feel like you should flip it, don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my cousin Daniel.
Respect first contact.
My cousin Daniel, that reminds me.
Well, the skin also protects the breast. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's like duck, right? Like the proper way to do a duck breast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is to just.
I'll flip a piece of meat when I've put butter in the pan to cool it down.
To cool it. See?
Yeah.
My cousin is a
Keywords.
drummer, one of the best drummers I've ever heard or met in my life. And he would always tell me one of the biggest mistakes that drummers make is when you feel like you should do a fill, don't.
Yeah.
When you feel like you should flip your meat, don't. Let it sit a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Wait.
Don't open that rice.
Right.
Let it sit.
Yeah.
You let that steam out, you've just lost it.
But I could take 1,000 classes from you on how to cook food and never produce the exact same thing that you produce. You're a guitar player. You can cover the Beatles or Fish however many times you want to. You're never, and you can practice and get phenomenal at playing that song.
Yeah.
But you're never going to sound like whoever.
Actually, I got a kind of good compliment the other day. I was playing my acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And for anybody that doesn't know Fish, Coventry was their last show before they broke up.
Okay.
And the guitar player was wasted the entire weekend. So he played a horrible show. But I was playing my acoustic guitar in the house, and somebody was like, hey, they walked into the room, and they were like, is that Coventry? Is that Sample in a Jar from Coventry? And I was like, just kind of like awestruck that I was putting even the same, like even if Trey was playing
His
horribly.
his guitar alias is Filthy Rich with a P too, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, just to even be put in that same vein, I was pretty excited.
Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad guitar player.
No,
but
no.
My point is that there is something that is in your DNA that makes you cook the way you do, that makes you it produces a certain flavor and more than anything, I think a feeling of your food that I don't care how talented I was, I'm never going to replicate.
It's touch. It's like Questlove wrote a book about it called Something.
I think you have like a deliberate thing too. Like he showed me once, like looking at when before you were opening, you'd gone some other places that you respect, and like I think you kind of stay true to this. Like on your menu, like you're like it's Syracuse market you're presenting to. You're like okay with like one thing in the description being something that people aren't familiar with.
Yeah, because
you make it so approachable. Like it's nothing at your place is not approachable. Like,
and I could I've worked for chefs that are like at the Inn at Little Washington. Patrick O'Connell, great chef, like amazing what he did to the town in Little Washington. But he puts words like Lilliputian on his menu, and it's like it just means small.
Yeah.
It's not like, but it's meant to be this grand artistic thing. I know Lilliputian bed of onions. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
I get it. I get the flowery language.
But Lilliputian means that it's $2 more or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I feel like, and maybe it's just coming from somebody who like appreciates food more than anything else. But I feel like, and maybe there's definitely a segment of the world's population that feels the same way, and maybe that population isn't as large as I wish it would be in Syracuse. But there's a romance with food, and there's a romance with the preparation and like that artistry of food. Like
I think everybody could realize that. Think of like the average man thinking like, "Oh, my grandma used to make." Like, that's where they keep it. They don't allow it to come into the to that like business focus, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's challenging. Like, I mean, when David was on the podcast, I said this to him, David Hoyne, and he was talking about like the struggles they've been going through, and I said it to him then. Like every other restaurant owner that I've had a conversation with, as they're telling me of how they're struggling, in my head I'm thinking, all right, maybe you could do this, maybe you could try that, this might work, maybe this will work, thinking of ways to like help them get more. And when David was talking and I'm thinking of Kitty Hoynes, I'm like, I don't have any fucking ideas. You're Kitty Hoynes. Like, what are you going to do, start serving like pizza?
Serving Jameson and Guinness on the street? Like, what do you, I mean, they kind of do that, but it's, But
I feel the same way about Eden.
Yeah.
Now you have, I think, on point pivoted in certain ways to like make yourself more accessible during COVID.
And certainly, like we took our core values and basically packaged them up and we deliver them to your house. So it's local food.
But I'd imagine that's a struggle. It's not like, we're just going to start doing this.
Just so you know, I think everything is a struggle.
Yeah.
It's their motto. If we can make it hard, they will.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we don't have any gas in the restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just not trying to be a dick, but that's like.
Yeah.
I've heard this said for entrepreneurs, and I've related to it from time to time. I don't know if you guys relate to it also, but that is every day it's an up and down. Like today, I feel like what I'm doing for Eat Local may be great, and tomorrow I could feel like it's a whole bag of shit and none of it really matters. And then the next day, maybe I'll feel like, all right, it's okay. I don't know if you feel that way about the restaurant.
So I was thinking about like our pop up from both weekends. Looking at them, like I won't tell like the numbers part of it, but it's like, so part of me it was like, this was great. And I look, I'm like, the amount of effort I just put into that for like based on normal times, you know what I mean? Like you look at it and you're like, but that shouldn't discourage you, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And why are we in the business, right? It's to
make people happy.
It's to make people happy. And if you have a bad sales day and you can still make one person or a couple people like you're doing something right. Like, you know what I mean? Things will turn around.
Yeah.
I got a customer on a really crappy day a couple weeks ago call in and just thank us for how we packaged the to-go. That's cool. And I can't tell you what it was like. You just made 3 months worthwhile because everything else, it's just, you know, you're sliding, you're trying to, crawl uphill and you're just sliding down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough business to be in. I mean, maybe the toughest, right? And
also the greatest.
Yeah.
Right.
In some ways, yeah.
There's some awesome benefits to it. I mean, this industry.
I don't know about that. That's just me like lying to myself.
Yeah, it's challenging for sure. It's,
I mean, you're right about the emotional roller coaster. Like some days, I'll go into work when we were open. I'll go into work and I'll feel like totally. I know the food's good, but for me, it's that like, we talked about this one of the times I was on the podcast. Like I eat all night. Like I try everything, and
the duck and taste.
When it's not like that blows my mind. I'm like, totally uninspired. Like this is, I kind of picture like that movie Chef where like he's flipping stuff over on the counter. I don't do that, but like because I don't want to be that kind of person. Yeah. But it's kind of like that. Like emotionally when everything's not perfect. Maybe that's. But
isn't that
my
isn't
psychology.
That the test of what it is? Like think about like the suckling pig roast at Buried Acorn.
Yeah.
Everything's going wrong.
Yeah.
But how you pull it together. Yeah. But it's all like,
with some like Viking stuff where like I light a couple of boards of cedar on fire.
But that's what, it's like, okay, maybe it's not blowing my mind, but I'm going to salvage it. Like, it's not like you could set out today and everything's like, that's a restaurant. And you can't be like, this is how today's going to go.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you have constantly changing
everything.
It's not like manufacturing where like you have this piece of steel and you need to weld it to this piece of steel, and everything is always consistent. It's natural. It's food. So like it's never, the product you get is never consistent. So what you do with it depends on what you see in front of you.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to your whole like touch thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't ever want the day to come where I think that I could replicate what like a great chef could do. Like there's no amount of cookbooks I want to read. There's no amount of instructions. And I was saying earlier, like Eamon, like back at Gearhars today, we're going to test out how legit sourdough bread will cook in a like Rationale combi oven.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which is going to be pretty fucking cool. We're going to do like a time lapse tomorrow of the spring inside of this thing.
Are you putting it in a Dutch oven, or are you just going to like throw it in our sheet pan?
I don't know for sure, but I believe it's just putting it in there.
Well, it's got the steamer, right?
Yeah. I mean, that combi can do pretty much anything you want.
Those things are ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're like opposite of what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're like $50,000.
I know. Which is about what our hearth costs. So.
But Eamon is it? But today
with no ventilation.
Yeah.
But today he's doing all of his like folding it, all that shit. And he, I was right before I came here. I was taking pictures of him, like, taking his Levin, which he was up at 4 a.m. this morning, getting it ready for, starting the process today.
The thing that I respect the most, I love Eamon for a lot of reasons, but the thing I respect most about him as a human being is that he is so into that sourdough starter. He is like, I feed it 12-hour increments
I
regularly. Like, he is so into it, and it just like it warms my heart. You know,
and he has all of his instructions and proportions and like weights put out on this tiny half sheet Excel spreadsheet thing, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, all right, so that's everything that a person would need to know about making sourdough bread, according to Eamon, right?
yeah.
But if I looked at that and followed it in every detail instruction, I'm never going to make a loaf of bread the same way that Eamon does. And it's because he's an artist when it comes to it. He knows what he's doing.
It's just the things that you're looking for, and you work with things enough. It's like, gluten. It's a whole. There's a really great book that it's called Tartine. Yes, Tartine.
Look at me like I know.
Sorry.
That explains
high hydration
last
dose.
week.
That explains high hydration dose like that.
Yeah.
And Eamon's read it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he brought me. He was meeting with Yemen. Remember Yemen?
Yeah.
From the
Oh
Stoop.
God damn it! I wish that guy.
His
was still
bread
here.
was. I mean, we talked for. He was meeting with Yemen, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm talking to Yemen like about bread. Like you got to come down here and
Maybe
chat
that
with us."
sums it up. Great bread. How hard is that to get? It's not the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's not. I mean,
There isn't like
Stoop is doing a good job now.
But like 5% of like overall bread in this world or less is probably great.
Yeah.
So that's like, and
I would say Utica bread. Possibilities, their stretch bread when I first moved here, because I'm used to there's a bread company in Vermont that makes amazing bread. Not to compare everything in Vermont to here, but I didn't like stretch bread when I first moved here. I now see the value in stretch bread, and I think it's amazing.
Have you had the patisseries out in from the Sherwood?
I haven't had the patisseries.
I'm gonna get you some patisseries.
I heard there was some kind of like animosity.
I don't know exactly the history of it. I just know that somebody created stretch bread, and then somebody left and started something else and stole it. But I don't know if the patisserie was the one that stole it, or if Postabilities was, or if the original person who invented stretch bread is no longer. I forget what it was, but there's something there. Yeah.
I don't even know what stretch bread really is. Like I've never.
Yeah, I've been told this is not accurate, but some people on the internet have described it as like the East Coast sourdough.
Okay.
But I don't think stretch bread exists anywhere outside of Syracuse, like Central New York.
It's like chicken riggies. Like
Chicken
riggies is not an Italian.
Hold on.
Chicken riggies is not an Italian thing to anybody watching.
Yes,
it's not actually an Italian thing.
Chicken riggies
it's
is
just
far
something that
from
somebody came up with here, and now
Right.
it's
stretch bread though is somewhat legitimate.
yeah.
I mean, it's good.
I'm sure stretching the gluten has something to do with like.
when I was a kid, my grandma would always get. I don't know if it was what it was called. I think the building is on the north side. It might be Nino's now, but she used to always have the semolina bread.
Yeah.
And that I've never in my life been able to find a bread like that. They're out of business. It's just gone forever. That's like the beauty of bread, though. It's like
I don't know if it's the same
the
thing.
person who makes it. I swear. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's a very.
Yeah.
It might be subtle. They might follow the same recipe, but it's just something.
Yeah.
And in
water.
France, like I was reading that book, that Tartine book. In France, there's one baker that makes his own dough, proofs it, has his own wood-fired oven, his or her, and they do the process all the way through, and then somebody quality controls it at the end. And if you're screwing up, like they tell you,
Yeah.
which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So it's
And then
just
we have
all
freedom
you.
loaves.
What are freedom loaves?
I don't know. People call French fries freedom fries.
Oh, freedom
We don't
fry,
want to
yeah.
talk about the French. Wonder bread, I guess.
Wow, that was such
Freedom
an
loaves.
old and good reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All right, this was great.
I know this was great. This is pushing the longest podcast in local New York podcast history. So, and
That's what happened when friends. drink
Congratulations.
Eddie Topper at
that happens.
9:30 in the morning.
I know, start with coffee and move on to Heady Topper. And if my boss is listening, this is recorded on a Saturday. Anyways, thank you both, everybody listening tonight, because we're probably going to release this in the morning. So tonight, New Year's Eve, 2020, go down to Hanover Square, go to Eden, find both Evergreen and Eden there.
Oysters
serving
and Hetty.
cocktails and Heady Topper and oysters and potato leek soup.
We'll be putting something up on Instagram later on today.
Cool. tag us and we'll share it.
Okay.
Done.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.